Zaza, 10 dangerous women of the Wild West who killed for gold. In the lawless landscape of the Wild West, where men often claimed the spotlight, there emerged an extraordinary group of women who defied all expectations. These women, driven by ambition, betrayal, and survival, took deadly measures to secure their fortunes. Their stories, filled with grit and determination, shine a light on the fierce consequences of the pursuit of gold. The first among them is Belle Starr, known as the Bandit Queen. Born in 1848, she quickly became a notorious figure in the outlaws' circle of the Osage Nation. Belle refused to conform to the standard expectations placed on women of her time. Instead, she rode with gangs, engaging in robberies and train hold-ups, all while cultivating her reputation as a cunning strategist. Belle's striking appearance and unparalleled courage made her a legend, but it was her ruthless decisions, including betrayal of close allies, that led to a trail of bodies in her wake. Her rise was marked by the sparkling allure of gold, but it was her downfall that captured the imagination of the nation. In 1889, she was ambushed and killed, leaving behind a legacy of mystique and peril. Next, we have Etta Place, the enigmatic accomplice of the infamous Sundance Kid. Etta was no ordinary woman. She is remembered as a sharpshooter and an equal partner in crime. Together with Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Etta journeyed across the West, always one step ahead of the law. Her skilled marksmanship was only rivaled by her cold determination. During one infamous robbery, Etta made a choice that would alter her fate forever. When a gang of lawmen closed in on them, she planned the escape that resulted in a violent confrontation. Just as the dust settled, Etta found herself at a crossroads, forcing her to choose between loyalty to her outlaw lovers and the survival of her own soul. Then came the tale of Mary Ann "Molly" McGill, a deceitful treasure hunter whose charm concealed a dark ambition. Molly was known for her cunning nature and her ability to manipulate men to achieve her goals. It wasn't long before she got wind of a rich cache of gold hidden away in a remote canyon. Her crew of miners, blissfully unaware of her intentions, followed her into the canyon only to meet an untimely end. Molly turned on them when the opportunity arose, killing them one by one to keep the gold for herself. She vanished into thin air, leaving behind a bloody legend that haunted prospectors for years. Another fierce woman was Laura Bullion, who became an integral part of the infamous Wild Bunch gang. Laura was not only a thief, but also a master forger, using her skills to create fake documents that would allow her to pursue her ambitions more freely. Her life of crime took a dangerous turn during a bank heist. When she sensed betrayal from her fellow gang members, Laura acted quickly and with lethal intent, eliminating her associates before they could turn against her. Her life as an outlaw eventually caught up to her when she was captured. However, her escapades continued to thrill the imagination of those who heard her story. The story of Cattle Annie and Little Britches is one of tragic friendship entwined with crime. These two young women, loyal to each other, roamed the plains not just to survive, but to thrive in the treacherous world they lived in. Their audacious spirit drew them into a life of crime, far beyond what society would deem acceptable. During a fateful heist, they hatched a plan to steal cattle, a crime that would lead to deadly consequences. Pursued by lawmen and rival cattlemen alike, they would have to rely on their wits and determination to evade capture, making choices that left scars on their friendship and souls. Another fascinating figure was Frances "Frankie" Hughes, a woman who sought to rise through the ranks in the male-dominated world of gambling. Born into poverty, Frankie was determined to make a name for herself. She developed a reputation for being more than just a pretty face. She was sharp, calculating, and unafraid to take risks. When her partner betrayed her, plotting to keep the winnings from a high-stakes poker game, Frankie turned the tables. In a fit of rage, she killed him, claiming the money and establishing her reign as a feared poker queen. Next, there was Isabella Bird, a traveler who found herself in a world full of danger and opportunity. Throughout her journeys, Isabella encountered lawless towns and wild men who would stop at nothing to get what they wanted. She quickly learned that her social standing could get her out of tight spots, but when faced with men who had no regard for life or property, she adopted a more ruthless approach. On one particularly turbulent leg of her journey, she was forced to defend herself and her integrity violently. Her story became one of survival, illustrating how desperate times call for desperate measures. Of course, no recounting of women of the Wild West would be complete without mentioning the infamous Ida Lewis, a woman known for her sharp shooting and quick decisions. Working her way through the trickiest corners of the frontier, she often found herself facing adversity head-on. During a gold rush frenzy, she turned mercenary, offering her marksmanship to help desperate men secure their fortunes, only to realize that she valued her own life more than any treasure. This realization led her to confront those who sought to exploit her, and the results were lethal. Then we must speak of the enigmatic Belle Boyd, who was more than just an outlaw. She was a double agent. Coming of age during the Civil War, Belle took on roles that defied the norms of her time. Her beauty and charm allowed her to navigate dangerous waters, gathering intelligence that would shift the course of battles. In a moment of profound danger, she made the decision to assassinate a soldier who threatened her life, solidifying her power while also sealing her fate. Finally, let's not forget about the indomitable Calamity Jane. While often romanticized as a heroine of the West, her tales also include moments of ruthless violence. Jane was driven by the thrill of adventure as much as the desire for gold. During her escapades, she faced rival gangs and betrayal, leading her to kill in self-defense and out of sheer desperation. Her story encapsulates the essence of the Wild West. Push too far and it becomes a lethal game. These women, each unique in their backgrounds and ambitions, navigated a chaotic world where gold often meant blood. Their stories remind us that the quest for wealth can lead to remarkable deeds and grim fates. In a realm where survival was both a choice and a battle, they shaped the history of the Wild West in ways often overshadowed by their male counterparts, leaving us with a tapestry of tales that continue to intrigue and inspire. In the heart of the Wild West, amid laws and legends, the stories of these dangerous women go beyond mere tales of greed and ambition. They embody resilience in a world that often underestimates their strength. As their paths crossed with fortune and danger, these fierce women carved their names into the fabric of frontier history, forever altering the perception of what it meant to be a woman in a man's world. Consider the brief but impactful life of Clara Foltz, the first woman in the United States to apply for admission to a law school. While not an outlaw in the typical sense, Clara's story intersects with the pursuit of power and gold in unexpected ways. When she moved west in search of opportunity, Clara witnessed widespread injustice. Determined to change the landscape, she aligned herself with politicians and entrepreneurs alike, crafting legal arguments that secured women's rights in property ownership and asset inheritance. However, as her power grew, so did her enemies. Clara soon found herself embroiled in a web of betrayal, one that could have cost her not just her fortune, but also her life. When faced with opposition that sought to silence her, she didn't shy away. Instead, she pivoted, using her intellect as a weapon against her adversaries, proving that battles could be fought not only with guns, but with wit and cunning. Meanwhile, in a distant town, the legend of Winifred "Winnie" Craig took shape. A former schoolteacher turned bounty hunter, Winnie was as dazzling as she was dangerous. After her husband was murdered by a gang of outlaws seeking gold, she took matters into her own hands. With nothing but a rifle and fierce determination, she set out to hunt down those responsible. Winnie's quests for vengeance turned deadly as she encountered fellow bounty hunters, each vying for the same criminals. With an unmatched skill for tracking and an eye for detail, she slowly built a name for herself, but her thirst for vengeance led her into the crosshairs of the law. When a rival bounty hunter attempted to claim her quarry, Winnie made a decision that would haunt her. She shot him in cold blood, securing her mark but marking herself as a fugitive. Then we meet the infamous Black Widow of La Colina, also known as Veronica Montoya. Born into wealth but trapped in a loveless marriage, Veronica discovered the harsh reality of betrayal when her husband embezzled her inheritance. After he vanished with the fortune, she turned to the shadows of La Colina, forging a new identity. To regain her wealth, Veronica enlisted the help of a notorious gang. She quickly learned the art of manipulation, leading her new partners into traps where they met their fates. In her calculated quest for revenge and riches, she became both a siren and a killer. Her story culminated in a dramatic showdown with an enemy who betrayed her trust. In a twist of fate, she turned the tables, taking what was rightfully hers and leaving a trail of corpses behind. The town whispered her name, tinged with both fear and intrigue. As we look deeper into the annals of history, the story of Maggie the Hammer Thompson stands out. Known for her unparalleled strength, Maggie spent her early years as a miner in the gold fields. As men underestimated her due to her gender, she seized the opportunity, using her strength to engage in physical confrontations and take what she wanted. It wasn't long before her reputation grew, and soon rivals began to seek her out, testing her mettle. During one fateful encounter, Maggie was ambushed by a group of claim jumpers. In a mighty display of ferocity, she fought back, killing 3 men and securing her claim. Before long, townsfolk turned to her for protection, and she became an unexpected guardian of the frontier, a protector of the innocent who would kill to safeguard what was hers. Miranda Red Hayes emerged from the dusty plains as another fierce competitor in the gold rush. Her fiery hair and equally fiery disposition marked her as a formidable woman in a world dominated by men. Initially seeking nothing more than freedom and riches, Red quickly realized the harsh realities of survival. In her journey, she uncovered gold-laden claims that belonged to others and, when confronted, resorted to deception and violence. During a high-stakes poker game that pitted her against some of the most ruthless men in the West, Red faced a lethal decision: play to win or lose everything, including her life. The moment she pulled the trigger against an opponent attempting to cheat her, she sealed her fate as both a legend and a target. Alongside them, the tale of Agnes Gunner McGowan reveals another layer of the Wild West's dangerous allure. A sharpshooter who once performed in traveling carnivals, Agnes understood the power of spectacle and deception. When gold fever swept the land, she left the stage to pursue her fortune. But gun battles were not her only weapon. Her sharp tongue and quick thinking often placed her in precarious positions. On one occasion, Agnes found herself cornered by a group of desperate men as they sought her skills for their heist. In a stunning turn of events, she spun a tale so convincing it led them into a trap of her own making. When the dust settled, it was Gunner who walked away with the spoils, while her pursuers became legends in their own right, as victims of an unforgettable con. These stories of dangerous women in the Wild West showcase not just their remarkable strength and cunning, but highlight the struggles they faced. Whether through ambition, revenge, or sheer determination, each woman took her fate into her own hands. As they traversed the muddy trails of the frontier, their legacies equipped them with the respect, fear, and awe of their contemporaries, forever embedding them into the tapestry of history where gold often meant violence, yet also empowerment. In this wide-open land filled with possibilities, the echo of their tales still resonates today, serving as a reminder that strength comes in many forms, and sometimes it's the women who shape the landscape of legend. Their fierce pursuit of gold, their bravery in the face of danger, and their unyielding spirit continue to blaze across the horizon long after the dust settled. In the annals of the Wild West, one cannot ignore the audacious saga of Jenny the Knife Emery. Known for her quick reflexes and even quicker blades, Jenny rose to infamy in saloons and dusty back alleys. A trained knife thrower, she took center stage, captivating audiences with her skillful performances. But beneath that charming exterior lay a woman driven by a fierce desire for independence and vengeance. When her brother was wrongfully accused and killed by corrupt lawmen seeking to solidify their power, Jenny felt the burn of injustice deep within her. Determined to avenge her brother's death, she used her talents for more than mere entertainment. Finding herself entangled with a notorious gang of outlaws, Jenny blended in, gaining their trust while planning her designed revenge against the very men who had robbed her of her family. In a daring confrontation, she confronted the sheriff responsible for her brother's demise. With her knives flashing like lightning, she avenged her sibling's death in a swift and lethal dance, sealing her fate as a legend. In another corner of the Wild West, the breathtaking story of Clara the Viper Collins emerged. A snake oil saleswoman turned outlaw, Clara combined her crafty skills with her unfaltering charm, using persuasion as her weapon. While initially peddling concoctions that promised cures for every ailment, she realized that her true calling lay in the gold rush. Clara cleverly manipulated desperate prospectors and gullible men, entangling them in schemes that would line her pockets. When her biggest con, a dubious claim of a gold-rich mountain spring, began to unravel, she took drastic measures. Feeling the threat of exposure looming, Clara resorted to killing those who posed a risk to her schemes. With a combination of wit and ruthlessness, she eliminated witnesses and left behind tales of her deadly encounters. Clara's reputation as the Viper resonated through the towns, not just for her cunning, but for the phantoms of her victims who lingered in her wake. Then there was the tale of Nora the Tempest O'Reilly, an Irish immigrant who transcended her fragile beginnings to become a force to be reckoned with. Arriving in America with nothing but dreams, she quickly learned the harsh realities of life in the Wild West. As her family faced dire straits, Nora's survival instincts kicked in. She joined a mercenary group that touted itself as protectors of the weak, but in truth, they engaged in brutal tactics that challenged morality. During a mission gone wrong, Nora was forced to make a choice that would redefine her path. When her comrades were ambushed, she fought back fiercely, realizing that survival often meant sacrificing those around her. In the chaos, she made her mark by taking down the rival faction's leader, showcasing her willingness to go to any lengths. No longer just a soldier, Nora became a terror, a tempest that swept through the lands, leaving destruction and awe in her wake. The mesmerizing adventure of Felicity, the Shadow. Lynn paints another vibrant picture of women in the Wild West. Renowned for her stealth and cunning, Felicity was a master thief. With a knack for slipping through cracks unnoticed, she gained access to wealth that others only dreamed of. Yet her ambitions came with a heavy price. With each heist, Felicity found herself deeper in a world filled with betrayal and danger. On a particularly risky job, Felicity was caught off guard by a rival gang who had been tipped off about her plan. Surrounded and outnumbered, she had only one way forward: transform her skills from covert missions to an all-out battle. Armed only with her sharp wit and tenacity, Felicity turned the tables on her pursuers. The showdown that followed was brutal, resulting in a fierce fight where she fought her way through, leaving no survivors in her path. Though she emerged victorious, the scars of her choices began to haunt her. Across the plains, the story of Lila, the Widowmaker Turner, unfolded. A woman of unpredictable nature, Lila balanced charm with danger in a way that left everyone either captivated or terrified. After losing her husband to a band of mercenaries, she vowed not to let another man dictate her fate. Training herself in the art of survival, she proved she could wield a gun and fight as well as any man. When she hunted the men responsible for her husband's death, Lila left no stone unturned. Her pursuit was less about justice and more about revenge. During her encounters, she revealed a brutal side that shocked those around her. In her quest for vengeance, she is said to have taken down an entire gang single-handedly, earning her fearsome reputation. The stories of her encounters spread like wildfire, leaving behind whispered tales of daring deeds that would keep her name alive. And finally, we turn to Victoria, the Siren Blackwell, a captivating woman whose incredible allure masked a heart as cold as ice. A former saloon singer, her voice entranced men from every corner of the West. With her newfound admirers came opportunities. Victoria quickly learned to use her beauty to manipulate those who sought her affection, leading them to risky ventures that often ended fatally. When a wealthy magnate became infatuated with her, Victoria saw the potential for riches. However, when he began to suffocate her ambitions with demands, she devised a deadly plan. Using her charm, she lured him into a false sense of security before orchestrating an elaborate scheme that culminated in murder. The aftermath was filled with riches, but at a grave cost. Victoria soon found herself in hiding, with the weight of her actions perpetually hanging over her head. The narratives of these women, Jenny, Clara, Nora, Felicity, Lila, and Victoria, speak to the struggles and triumphs of those who fought against the constraints of their time. Each tale weaves a narrative filled with blood, gold, and resilience, underlining an essential truth. In a world as unforgiving as the Wild West, it was often those deemed weak who proved to be the greatest forces of all. As we embrace their legacies, their stories, remind us that the pursuit of gold can take the most unexpected and deadly twists, forever altering the course of history. Through bravery, cunning, and tenacity, these dangerous women not only survived, they thrived, leaving behind a legacy that changed the landscape of the Wild West forever. As the dust settled in the vast expanse of the Wild West, The stories of these formidable women became legends, passed from one generation to the next, each tale richer and more vivid than the last. The impact of their lives extended far beyond their immediate actions. They shaped perceptions of strength and resilience, proving that women were not just passive bystanders in a male-dominated world, but fierce players capable of wielding power and instilling fear. The legacy of their ambition manifested itself in the communities that formed around their tales. Towns began to change. Where once women had limited roles, the legends of these daring figures inspired others to challenge the status quo. They paved the way for a shift in societal norms, showing that survival often required more than traditional feminine virtues. Women began to take on roles previously reserved for men, from tavern owners to sharpshooters. San Francisco's streets echoed with the songs of the divas, and the saloons welcomed women who wore their guns openly. The influence of women like Victoria Blackwell rippled through society, as they partly reshaped the fabric of the community, asserting their rightful place in the narrative of the West. Then there was the story of how Clara Foltz, an influential figure in the push for women's rights, would later inspire women to pursue not just the gold in the hills, but also their rights in life. Her legacy reminded every female outlaw and entrepreneur that they could own businesses and properties, shifting the balance of power and ownership in an unforgiving land. Her advocacy reached far beyond her time, influencing generations to come. As tales of these wild women circulated, they also drew the attention of historians and reporters. They chronicled accounts of bravery in newspapers, embellishing and extending the narrative to capture the imagination of everyone. The vibrant stories showcased the important role women played in history, blending fact with fiction and amplifying the complexity of their contributions to the tapestry of the American frontier. In the later parts of the 19th century, discussions about women began to include aspects of autonomy and independence in ways they hadn't before. With the backdrop of the gold rush and the roaring spirit of the Wild West, debate flourished. Newspapers began to spotlight women not only as victims of circumstance, but as decision-makers who could take charge, pushing boundaries and securing their destinies. The ramifications of their actions didn't stop with their lives. Their descendants continued to carry the torch, each tale echoing in the lifestyle choices of future generations. Women, inspired by the stories of their ancestors, found empowerment in pursuing careers in law, medicine, and even politics, fields that had once been closed off. They earned college degrees in unprecedented numbers and shaped educational policies, ensuring that future girls could chase their dreams without the constraints faced by their forebears. As the Western frontier gradually transformed into a land of opportunity and competition, the daring actions of women like Jenny, Clara, and Lila became a touchstone for those who sought not just wealth, but purpose. The struggle for gold became a metaphor for a deeper journey, one of self-discovery and empowerment. The Wild West was no longer merely a land of outlaws and riches. It emerged as a landscape of resilience where women strode alongside men, each carving out their place. Even as the sun set on the era of the Old West, the legends remained alive, inspiring books, movies, and scholarly work that examined the roles of these women through multiple lenses. They became symbols, demonstrating that determination and resourcefulness transcended societal expectations. In every retelling of their adventures, there was a vivid reminder of the strength of character necessary to survive and thrive. The stories of these dangerous women remain relevant today. They encourage modern women to be bold, to carve out their own destinies, and to stand fiercely for their values, ambitions, and dreams. Their legacies live on as inspiration for every person longing to break free from societal constraints and define their own paths. In a world that often strives to erase the contributions of those who came before, these stories serve as steadfast reminders that courage, ambition, and rebellion have no gender. Every time a woman picks up a pen, takes a stand, or challenges the norm, she continues to honor the spirit of those wild women of the West. Those pioneers, not just in their pursuit of gold, but in their quest for independence and identity. Their battles echo in the struggles of today, a testament to the fierce tenacity that forges a legacy of strength, daring, and everlasting impact.